Well, hello out there. How's your week been? I'm sure there were some challenges, but I'm glad you're here. We're going to talk about a difficult topic today. We're talking about dementia. And if you've been impacted by it, either with a diagnosis or caring for a loved one, you know when I say dementia changes everything. It really does. So today I wanted to talk about it here on Boomer Time: legal protections, safety measures, and caregiver survival tips. Some of the initial things you should think about in planning for that often long road that dementia takes you down. As you know, I'm Nancy Cogar. I'm an attorney here in town, and I am started this podcast because I care about people being prepared and empowered. And that's what today is about: empowering you. So, we're talking about dementia. And as you know, if you've been impacted by a dementia diagnosis, you're not alone. You're in a growing group. Dementia, of course, is designated for a variety of cognitive disorders. It can range everything from Alzheimer's to sundowners. You've probably heard of that, Parkinson's, and even Lewy body syndrome. The disease affects millions. In fact, currently there are 7 million Americans who have been diagnosed with some type of dementia. And those numbers are just growing. No surprise, right? It is projected to significantly increase in the coming decades. 1 in 10 people out there, age 65 and over, has some type of cognitive disorder. I see it all the time. And just because you've been diagnosed doesn't mean that you can't take steps to prepare for your future. But you've got a shorter window. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, too. So these numbers will just keep growing in the next 25 years. And as I've said before, when it even comes to the silver tsunami, we need to be prepared. Be aware and prepared. That's the best way to move forward. So I wanted to talk first of all about some legal must-dos. And, I always tell the families first, when it comes to dementia, timing is everything. Dementia will gradually rob someone of their mental capacity. And at that point, their ability to understand decisions and consequences are limited, right? And once your capacity is gone, your options, including your legal options, shrink dramatically. You're really left oftentimes with one. So, from a planning standpoint, that's why early planning is essential. And I wanted to begin today's show by talking about the top legal protections you should put in place as soon as possible after a dementia diagnosis. These are must-haves, okay? And don't do them yourself. This is too important. All right? So first, I've talked about these before, but we're talking in light of dementia: a durable power of attorney. Durable means that if you become incapacitated, it won't lapse. It will survive that. And that's exactly when you need it, right? This is a document that helps loved ones that you trust handle your finances, pay your bills, manage your accounts, maybe sell your house even if they needed to do that. Helps them to apply for care for you. And without it, quite frankly, you might find yourself stuck in court seeking a conservatorship. Your family's hands are going to be tied, even just to do simple tasks. Secondly, a healthcare power of attorney. Sometimes it's called a medical proxy, but this is someone who gives the authority to whoever you designate to make medical decisions when you can't. This is also so very important. Things are not simple anymore. We live in a world of HIPAA privacy guidelines, of consent, of express authorization. You need a enforceable power of attorney so that someone can make decisions for you when you cannot. So you need both the financial and the healthcare. A living will. My living wills give discretion to your loved ones. If, say, in the future, you're towards the end of your life, and who knows, maybe there's some new treatment that we didn't know about or we didn't know about now. You would sure want that to be available for you. And that's how I've designed my living wills. They give discretion to a loved one for some kind of treatment that may be available for your benefit before we start talking about end of life care, right? End of life care. Do you want to be hooked up to life support? Do you want to be fed by a machine? You have a constitutional right to refuse medical treatment, but you have to articulate that in some enforceable way, right? Hospitals don't want to take risks like that. And by completing these types of documents, you can spare your family really so much heartache and so much conflict. Okay, I mentioned this earlier, but you need a HIPAA release. Okay, it's so simple, but today it's crucial. It allows the doctors to share medical information with your loved ones. Your medical information, right? Without it, these privacy laws are going to block your loved ones or whoever you designate from getting updates. How can they make decisions if they don't know the status of your health? And if you're listening right now out there and you're thinking, oh no, we didn't need to get one of these done. You know what? Please don't wait. I'm telling you, please don't wait. Talk with your loved one now, especially if they've had a recent diagnosis, because they can still sign the documents and have that capacity long as they understand what they're signing. Once that's gone, you're going to have to petition the court for conservatorship. This is so much more time consuming, stressful, expensive, and public, okay? And you're going to have to ask the court for permission to do all kinds of things moving forward. So I've put together a dementia planning checklist, and I'm going to talk more about that, but that's available on my website, nancycogar.com. So it's free, and I think it has some information that you will find very useful. So I encourage you to go there, nancycogar.com. Talk more about that in a minute. Be right back. Welcome back. We are talking about dementia today. What do you do after a diagnosis? What should you do, right? How do you prepare for that incredibly difficult road? Well, we were talking about legal steps before the break, and I did want to mention something that I encourage people to do all the time. Create a care book. Okay, it can be a binder just like you had in high school with the 3-ring binders and those plastic sleeves. Put your legal documents in there, at least copies of them, all right? You need the originals, but have them accessible. That's really the point I'm making. And have an index of your doctors, your prescriptions, your insurance, calendar of appointments, diagnosed conditions, personal information. Hey, Medicare card information, right? Supplemental insurance information, DD 214, sometimes that gets missed, and even supplemental insurance. Millions of families, maybe just like yours, are impacted by the disease that's known as dementia and incorporates a number of other specific diseases, right? And it's unfortunately, only expected to increase. This poses substantial challenges, when it comes to preparation, not to mention when it, impacts an individual's care continuity or continuance of that care, right? Safety, legal rights, opportunities to find quality and consistent care, paying for that care, right? Not only that, but the impact that all of this with the silver tsunami that I've talked about before, when there are more of us over 65 than any other age group, the impact that's going to have on our communities and our economy. Not to mention, you know, trying to find available space. I just don't know what that's going to look like. And, I want you to be prepared. So, Boomer Time is here to make some sense of those issues and help you to be better prepared because that's really a consistent here. So, I wanted to talk about safety at home, okay? Protecting your loved one from dangers inside the house, obviously, and then outside the house. If you're caring for a loved one with dementia at home, okay, first of all, that's not very unusual because of a lot of what I just talked about cost, right? Consistency. 80% of adults with dementia receive treatment at home, at least initially, or as long as they're able to do that. And being prepared will help to make that a longer trek. I have clients out there who are managing two households, their parents' home and their own home. It's important to talk about safety at home, protecting that loved one from risks inside and outside. Common risks, can be wandering outside, getting lost, kitchen accidents, leaving the stove on, forgetting to turn it off, falls due to confusion or clutter in the house. That's a big one. But here are some of my top recommendations for improving safety for your loved one in the house and outside the house. I would say use door alarms, door chimes to alert you if your loved one tries to leave the house alone. They've got those cameras. You can see someone walk out and it'll chime for you. They're perfect. Consider a GPS tracking device or a medical alert bracelet with information. Those have saved so many people when they are found. And if they're wandering, it helps to, allow folks to know what's going on and help that person quickly. You want to secure your hazardous areas. That means, these are things you might not think about. Locking up cleaning supplies, sharp tools, medications, declutter those floors. I talked about that. Add grab bars to the bathroom, prevent falls. Use appliances with automatic shut-off features. All of these are things that you can look for with other ideas that'll help you prep as part of the dementia checklist that I'm offering today. And you can get that on my website, nancycogar.com. One of the most sensitive issues, of course, driving, right? Losing those car keys can feel like losing independence. Dementia can make driving downright dangerous. You want to talk to your loved one kindly but firmly about that. Some states have reporting requirements for doctors or even family members who are no longer safe to drive. And Siskin here in Chattanooga has a driving test, which can help with determining whether your loved one should continue to drive. But you need a referral from a doctor. And I would like to go down to Siskin at some point and just look at that so we can be more familiarized with how that works. Here's another protection that can pose a danger. You may not think about it. Prescription drugs, right? What if you don't remember if you took your drugs or not, or your meds, or over-the-counter medicines, alcohol, cleaning supplies, paint, rubbing alcohol, laundry detergent, guns, right? Weapons, scissors. All this is common sense, right? It's a lot. I am with my clients to help them to be better prepared processing this. The last thing you want is to not be prepared. And that just makes things harder on you and your loved ones when these demands intensify. That's what this is all about. This not only impacts you, it impacts your loved one with the disease. So, what about you as a caregiver? Sometimes, this is the biggest challenge, preparing and providing for the caregiver out there who provides the care and love and support to the loved one with dementia. And I've said it before, but the number of individuals providing care to a loved one with dementia just keeps increasing as well. And I think there are at least an estimated 11 million American adults providing some kind of unpaid care today to a loved one. But a quarter, 25% of those providing that care have multiple responsibilities. They've even got a term for it. It's called the sandwich generation. I've done episodes on that before. You might want to look back. But these are caregivers who are providing care to an aging parent, and they have at least one child under 18 at home. They're sandwiched in the middle of that care spectrum. That is not easy stuff. And there's a lot of facts, of course, concern for your loved ones, navigating the disease, providing support during the experience, and keeping them home as long as you can, right? And trying to find the help that's available or simply paying for it, right? There's a lot there. So I want to talk a little bit more about caregiver survival. I'm going to take a quick break. Stick with me. Well, you've probably heard that you can't pour from an empty cup because it's empty, right? It's the same thing if you're a caregiver. I know the last thing you want to think about when you've got somebody that needs your care and it's an aging adult is taking care of you, right? That seems like the first thing that you take off the list. But you can't pour from an empty cup, okay? I want to acknowledge caregiver burnout. It happens, especially if you've got a sandwich generation situation, right? With kids at home and trying to care for parents. We're just human. You need to take some time to build a care plan for you as caregiver into your plan. This is a long road. And there are resources out there. There are local adult programs, respite care is available, support groups. Learn to ask for help. I've done episodes on some of the folks that are available, but there are a lot of helps out there. And I've included those too on the dementia diagnosis checklist. So don't miss that. That's available on my website at nancycogar.com, and it's free. Okay, so you'll be able to download that and let me know what you think. Let me know if it's helpful. I love hearing those stories. If there's something that's not on there, let me know. I want to know. I want to know how to get information in your hands that you're looking for, relevant, timely, and works, right? So I would encourage you as a caregiver. Here's a novel idea. Accept help from friends and family, right? So if you have folks at home, there's a lot of times it's a financial reason, and there are some helps there for that too. But that's complex, and don't have time to give that adequate time here today. But I've done episodes on that before. And you can look at those and you can look at the checklist to give you some more ideas. So, what about final takeaways and action steps? Okay. First of all, I know, and I've said first of all a lot, but I know that if you're out there and you're a caregiver, you most likely feel alone or isolated or will feel that way at some point. And I want you to know that you're part of a community. The impact of dementia is just far reaching. Millions and millions of Americans. It's just staggering. In the next 25 years, there are even more that are supposed to be involved. I think 13 million people will have some kind of dementia diagnosis. That's why it's important to prepare. So, let me recap on some of the things that we've talked about today. Get your legal documents done. Don't do them yourself. It's too important. You need documents that are enforceable, durable, specific, and work, and you have them when you are able to make them, and you'll have them when you need them. Don't wait. Make your home safer to protect your parents and your own health. Falls are the number one reason why people can't stay at home. They fall, break a hip, get injured, and then they're in skilled care or nursing care, can't go home. That happens a lot. So I would just encourage you, and I know I was talking to a friend earlier this week that said she's listening to all the podcasts. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But I said, hey, have you followed it yet? Have you followed Boomer Time? She said, I don't know how to do that. Well, our age group, there's some things we don't know how to do, but I would encourage you to look for the little follow button and click it. Follow. A couple of reasons. You won't miss any more episodes, and you're helping me spread the word. So I hope you'll do that for me. I'm glad you've been here today. And like I said, I hope this information is helpful. Go to my website, nancycogar.com. I love resources, and there are lots there. And especially today, I've got this resource that relates to dementia diagnosis. I hope it's been a help. I'll see you next time.